Happy 11th birthday, Sarah! Do you recognize it? It's your present. We're going to do a flip through so everybody can see the present that I made for you. And then I'm going to teach you how to make it. It's super, super easy. So I'm going to go over the supply list while we're doing a little flip through. Now it's made out of envelopes. Well, that doesn't go on there. We got some hitchhikers, you see that? They want to go with you, so I'm going to put it to the side, and you can have these too. Alright, they're over there. It's a little purse made out of envelopes. There are 10 envelopes. The ones that I used measured 6 3/4 by 3 5/8 quarters. It's a little book. Memoirs of a Little Bit. This is made with using scraps. And this right here is just embroidery floss, but you can use whatever mom has available that she does her book bindings with. And this right here is colored folders, file folders. So, and this right here is flat ribbon. You can get it at Walmart or any of your craft stores. For the paper that I used on the inside, you're going to need a total of 11 sheets if you do it the way that I did. There's going to be 9 for the inside, 1 for the front, and 1 for the back. Now, the ones on the inside are going to measure 7 inches long by 6 1/4 wide. And then you basically, just half it and put it on the front. And it's going to vary depending on how you get it folded when I show you that after we go through all of this, as to how long your paper is going to be a little bit. And I adhered it with Fabri-Tac glue, but you can use glue sticks. And I also used 5 pieces of coffee stain paper or colored paper, which is right here, and this is actually notebook paper and scrapbooking paper. And these are rub-ons. I always do that. Right here, if you're like me, you're going to go grab it. Don't try to pull it apart because there's tags here. See? Tags. And I also used distressed vintage photo around everything. I'm trying to think. You're going to need scissors and a ruler. And if your mom has a cutting board and you know how to use that, you can use that too. But you're definitely going to need your scissors and ruler. Whatever you're wanting to embellish it with, stickers, any of your handmade little pretties, flowers, buttons, some of the bling, sticky bling. And you're going to need a bone folder or a credit card, an old credit card of mom's maybe. Or did you get a gift card for your birthday? Don't use a gift card for your birthday until after you've already used the money because it's going to warp it a little bit. And then you'll need a pen or a pencil. Just a couple more pages. So that's what it looks like on the inside. And all of these are rub-ons. I can't remember if I said that or not. And here is the back. Look at that. It's still got more hitchhikers all over the place. Whoops. Alright, so I sent you a couple of ATCs. This is explaining what it is. You've probably read it by now. And if mom says it's okay and has time, maybe we can FaceTime and we can make some together. So let mom know that I offered, and if you want to do it, let me know and we'll get to it. So this is what we're going to make today. This is Little Bits Presents. We're going to start off with the envelopes. You're going to need 10. Now, if you want to distress them like I did, I find that it's easier to go ahead and distress your envelopes now to take away that bright white. Otherwise, you have to worry about pulling it apart, and it's easier for me. You're going to take 2 of these. One of them, fold over, just like that. this one, we're just going to leave it open. And this back flap, we're going to slide it in. I'm trying to keep this in camera. I usually do it at a different angle. I'm going to slide it in just like that. And then it still looks like one fully functional envelope, but it's two. Now if you're going to do 10 pages like me, you're going to make 4 sets of 2, which will be 8 envelopes. And then you have an envelope for the front and an envelope for the back. Okay? Now, you don't have to use this size. You can use bigger or smaller. I also find that the triangle folds work much better than the flaps right here for me. It gives me more to work with because I'm a little bit shaky sometimes. But the ones at home that your mom has, or if you pick them up, if you get the ones with the flap like that, they're perfectly fine. It just might, depending on who's doing it, might be easier or more difficult. So remember, you're going to slide it in just like so, and we're going to fold it over to where it looks just like this. It still looks like an envelope, okay? Now, once you get all of your envelopes done, if you're going to ink them or if you're going to put the colored around them, you can even use a marker, a colored marker, and color around the sides if you want. Or you can just cover the whole thing in paper instead of leaving it open a little bit at the top like I have. Okay, here's one. And then we have the sets, which is 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, and 1. So this is going to make 10 envelopes. Now we're going to put them all together. You have your single, so there's nothing inside, nothing inside. Okay. Then you're going to take one of your sets. And you remember how we did it the first time where we folded one back to slide in? We're going to do the same thing. Only this time when we're sliding in, it's going to be 2. Okay? And we're just going to repeat the process. Now I've already made sure that mine are pressed down, so mine are going to slide in a little bit easier because I've prepped it ahead of time. Now if you're finding that they're coming apart on you when you're sliding them in, you can glue them together. Mine's open a little bit at the end, but not here. When you have them together like this, almost forgot that step. I always forget the step when I'm actually doing it too. Put them down together. You don't need much. You just want to make sure that it's not going to move on you. Just plop a little bit of glue on there. And then now it won't go anywhere. I forgot the step we're on. Okay. And you can do the same thing here too. Let me show you that way. 1, 2. 1, 2. See how it's opening a little bit with our envelope? Just stick a little bit of glue. That way it doesn't come out like it just did. A little bit of glue. And go down and you want to press it. Press it down. And see, this one's open. I'm going to do the same thing. A little bit of glue. Take your flap, fold it backwards, and then slide it right on in. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, if you're going to do the vintage photo, you see how I have the envelope open and it went over right here? If you leave it closed, it's going to have that little bit of white right here. So if you're going to do this step, just go ahead and open your envelope and do your corners right here. Otherwise, if you're like me and you forget some of your steps, even though you've done this a zillion times, it makes it a little bit harder to go back after it's all put together. And then you have this thing and you're trying to go all in the inside. Yeah. So go ahead and do that before you do all these steps. Okay. All right, so we have, try to get a little bit more even. There we go. We have our first envelope And then we have our sets of envelopes in there. Now this is going to be the last single that you have. Same thing, we're going to pull it back, okay? And this is going to be our back piece. I'm going to put some glue on there. I'm going to slide it in. Fold it back over. Press it down a little bit. Alright, so now you should have something that looks a little bit like that. Looks pretty cool right now, doesn't it? Alright, this piece here. Now this can be tricky because if you don't get it good and snug up on the back part right here, it can be a little flimsy. And on yours, yeah, there was one part right there that didn't get real snug, but I pretty much covered it up. So we're going to press it down nice and good, okay? Now we're going to completely glue this flap down. We're not just going to put a little bit to hold it in place. We want this flap right here to be completely adhered down, okay? So get your glue stick. Let me get something to put up underneath there. Because you don't want to put glue on your work surface. And this right here is just parchment paper, baking paper, something like that. You can see I use it for all kinds of things. Now you don't have to slather it on because we're going to cover this with some paper. Alright, now here's the tricky part. Pull it up. And there is no shame in getting somebody to help you with an extra hand. Extra hands are always good. Alright. See how I'm wiggling it on there? I got glue on my fingers. And then I'm going to fold it over. Sometimes that works pretty good. Sometimes it don't. And this one, it looks like it worked. It worked pretty good. Pretty good. I'm going to run my fingers along the spine right here. So I can flatten it out a bit. Okay, I hope I haven't gone out of camera frame. Got my little notations here so I don't go out of camera frame. I'm put the camera on that side instead of this side so I'm not breathing all in y'all's ears. So, let's see. Oh yes. If you're going to completely cover it, you can actually reinforce this spine a little bit. You can use masking tape, painter's tape, any kind of tape, just to support it a little bit more. Now on yours I did not do that because I just put the lace over it and I covered it completely so you can't really see it. This one I think I'm just going to leave it the way it is for the sake of the tutorial, but you could use washi tape, use your imagination. You could put anything here if you want. Now on this one I've already prepped it and you see where I've put my distressed photo, or no, this distressed ink, but it's vintage photo. I've already put that on there. And because I'm a little OCD, where we closed it right here, we're going to make that the back. We're going to have the complete flush front. Okay? Now, if you're not using the size envelopes that I'm using, what I want you to do is I want you to open up your book. And you're going to measure it. You're going to measure it to see how big of your book, how big your book is, so you know what size to cut your paper. And because I'm not going corner to corner, but you can. And because I'm not going corner to corner, I'm not going to cut my paper all the way flush. See where the 7 is? That's where I'm cutting my paper. That way it gives me that 1/8 of an inch, pretty much 1/8 of an inch on each side. That's going to show where I put this distressed ink on. And the same thing here is I cut at 6 1/4, which would be right here at 6 1/4, and it leaves me about an eighth of an inch. Let me turn it this way so you can see. I think that was out of frame. I know that's going to be in frame. See, I cut it at 6 1/4, and that gives me the 1/8 of an inch on the top and the bottom. So we got your measurements now. You can set this to the side. That way you can still look at all this pretty little journal that's going to be and figure out what you want to do for your paper. And once you get your paper, you're going to have to cut it. I've already cut mine ahead of time except for one piece. I saved one piece that way I can show you. And this, I use a cutting board. Make sure I'm in frame. So I'm going to take my paper and I am going to cut 7" by 6 1/4 inch. So we're going to get 7. And the stain paper, unless you want your mom irons it or you want to iron it, it's not going to lay completely flat, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. Don't stress over the little stuff, okay? So that right there is 7 inches. Now we need to do 6 1/4 inch. And if your mom doesn't have one of these, you can use a ruler, make you little notations where you need to go, even draw you a line, and you can cut right along that line. I did it that way for years with the scissors and depending on if it worked or not, my X-Acto knife. Once you get all of your papers cut, all of your little scrappies like this, we're going to sit to the side. We're not going to throw them away because we're going to use these to make embellishments with. You might use all of them in this journal, you might not. Depends on if you want a chunky one. And if you don't, I have a scrap box I throw in there and I use the next project. If I need something, I'll pull from that. So I'm going to set mine to the side. And this is the stack of papers that I have to make the journal with. Now you got 6 1/4 by 7. And then these are going to be my 2 front pieces. Okay, the way I did mine is because it looks like a purse, it's going to open up like a purse and we're going to flow with it going that way. So I cut my paper, with the exception of this obviously because it doesn't have a pattern. I cut my paper the way I want it to show in the book. So when the flaps are open, this is how it's going to show. Now by all means you could turn your book to where it actually opens up like a book. Where is it? You can do it where it looks like a book and it holds like a book if you want to. But I'm doing it this way. My papers, when you open it up, you're going to see them this way. Okay, does that make sense for you a little bit? So here's my papers. And I liked that one as a corner. So I forgot to mention that before you cut your papers. Before you cut your papers, you need to figure out how you want them to run. Like this one. If I wanted it to go that way, I would have to cut it 6 1/4 by 7. But I did it this way, so my paper is going to run that way. Now, after you get your paper cut, you need to arrange your paper how you want it. And me, it's a little bit different because I have 5 and 5, so I'm going to slide one in between each here. Now I did have actual 10 segments, but my front and my back on my cover went into 2, so it's technically 10, but I cut 1 in half. So this is how I think I'm going to run my paper. Maybe I'll break that up because that's pink, and that's blue. Alright, that's how I'm going to run my paper. We'll do it this way. Now you need to get whatever kind of glue you're going to use because we're going to glue down. And you can get your wax paper back out. Sorry about that, I had to take a drink. I was getting a little bit itchy. Now you can take a glue stick and you can glue all up on that sucker if you want to, but I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac. It dries rather quickly. Now the first step we're going to do is I'm just going to do the front and I'm going to do the back. And then we're going to work from there. I'm not going to put it on here because I'm not going all the way up to the edge. See, I want it to look like this. See how that is? I still got some showing. Now if you wanted to, you can distress the papers that are going to go in between too, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I am just going to put it on this way. I'm going to show you how I do the one right here, and then we're going to do the ribbon. but I'm not gonna work with you for the whole book because that would take a good little bit of time. I'll come back after I finish the book, and then we'll work on some embellishments. Does that sound pretty good? That way you can actually pause it when you're working too. Now, rewind me if you need to, getting on your steps. And if all fails right there, tell Mom to give me a call. And we can go like that. We can have a one-on-one. Alright, now it's going to open up this way, and I have writing. You see the writing? I want to make sure my writing is face up. I don't want this upside down, and I am notorious for putting in signatures upside down and papers and everything else. Alright, so I'm going to lay that there. Remember I told you needed a credit card or a bone folder? This is why. Now some of my glue might come out, but that's okay. We're going to just smooth that glue around, get it in there good. Make sure it's on there nice and smooth. And if you're using Fabri-Tac, you got to kind of do this quickly. The glue is great, it's strong, but it dries super fast. If you're using a glue stick, you can move it around a little bit easier. I don't think I got up to that edge very good. My dogs are barking at cats outside. Alright, see? See how pretty that is? I'm going to go back and I'll put a little bit more in there. That's how we have this. Now we're going to open up. Before we lay our paper down here, if you're going to make this into a purse, the same as the gift that you have that you're looking at, we need to put our ribbon in. Now to do that, if you want to make sure it's perfect, you're OCD like me, I'm going to do some measuring and we're going to do some marking. That way I know exactly where to put my ribbon and to glue it down. I did have a pen. Okay, here it is. Alright, so I kind of like having it in about an inch. So I'm just going to make a little notch, an inch in. Kind of towards the back here, and then a little bit closer up, and I'll show you why. Now you can do it further out. You can line it here if you want to. But this is how, whoops, I didn't get that completely. Look at there. See, I just goofed. Alright, we're not going to go under there. I mean, you could if it's going to be really heavy, but this one's not going to be really heavy, so we're just going to do it this way. And we're going to make a little line. Now if you're doing it like me, and you're going to have a little bit showing, don't pull it all the way up to the top. I'm going to have about 1/8 showing, so I'm just going to pull it up to right there. Because if you pull it all the way up, and you're not going to be completely covering, you're going to see that pin mark. And we don't want that. Okay? I'll do it on the other one. Alright. Now you don't have to do it this way. It just helps me. It gives me a line to go off of. Alright. I should have picked out my ribbon beforehand. Let's see what we're going to do. Maybe we'll contrast a little bit. Yeah, because that'll match the blue right there, and it looks pretty up against that. Alright, we have our ribbon out. Now we have to determine how long do you want your handle, because I'm going to pull it right up to the back right here when we glue it down. So take a finger and go like this, and then you have to figure it out. You want a handle, pull this up a little bit. How long do you want that handle? I think that looks pretty good. What you think? Yeah, that looks pretty good. So we're going to go down, and then we're going to cut right here. Now we're going to need two because we're going to need one for the back flap as well as the front. So just run it along and get it as close as possible. We're human. It's not going to be exactly perfect, okay? And that one's at an angle. So go right there. And this is going to be our handles. Now you could use fabric strips. I don't know, I've made handles before out of cardstock, but that one closed. This one's going to be, it gives you room to where your junk journal purse can expand because we don't really have a spine per se. We have one, but it's not, we can't really just decide how big of a spine we want to fill up on, if that makes any sense. Kind of like when Mom makes her junk journals and she determines how big of a spine she's going to have because she knows how big she's going to make it. Okay, so we have our ribbon cut. Now this you cannot use glue sticks on. You just can't. Mom could sew it on the sewing machine if you wanted to do that, but don't put your paper down if you want Mom to sew it, unless you want them sewing lines to show. I just thought about that. I got my daughter a sewing machine. She never uses the sucker. I don't know how to use a sewing machine, but I know that Mom does. Alright, so if you're doing it like me, you're going to get your wet glue. And see this line that we made? We're going to put some wet glue along the line, one at a time. And I didn't actually get it on that line. It's a little bit off. It's wonky, but that's okay. Oops. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about that. Because we're going to have paper. So this is going to help hold it in there. We're going to glue it down, and then the paper is going to go on top of this piece right here. And it's going to hold your purse straps in real nice and snug. So don't worry about getting the glue squishing out right here, because it's all going to get covered. All going to get covered. Alrighty. So we're going to let that dry for a few seconds. Now, because it is ribbon, if you twist it and twist it and twist it and twist it, and then you put it down, it's going to be all wonky. So I'm going to try, see how it's curving in just like that. Whoops, I didn't go all the way to the end. Make sure you bring your glue all the way to the end. Otherwise, your ribbon will have, we'll put some stress on the paper that's on top, and it'll pull that paper off, and we definitely do not want that. So bear with me for another hot second so we can get that to adhere a little bit. Okay, as I was saying before, you see how it's gonna curve. So put it down and see if it's curving the way it's kind of even. You see how it turns in? See how it turns in this way and turns in that way, and there's no kink right here? That's how I want to lay my ribbons down, because I want it to look like this. And I can't tell you how many times I have done these and I've done it backwards. So slide it over, if you're left or you're right-handed, whichever side you want to do, and just put something on it. That way it holds it exactly which side that you want to glue down. And this is the side that I want to glue down. It's taking just a second. I gotta wait for the glue to go back down. I usually keep it upside down, but I haven't done it in this time yet. Hi, Bug.
I'm not in trouble this time.
Okay, you know, whatever you say is going to be on YouTube, so everybody's going to hear what you got to say about being in trouble.
No, I'm not in trouble.
Well, that's good. Alright, got my glue on my line. I'm going to pop this top on. I don't care about them knowing where we live. That's not what I'm talking about. Alright, then I'm going to do the same thing. Bring it up to the middle. Hold it with one finger. It's going to get a little bit messy. A little bit messy. Alright, so we're going to hold it. Make sure it's on there nice and good. See that? And then we have our first handle. See how cute that is? So after you have your handles on, you're going to take whatever paper you're going to put on this page. This is going to be the first page. See how it goes down? Just like that. Mine's showing. This is what I was talking about. Make sure you get all the way to the edge glued down so when you're holding it, when it doesn't pull and stress this paper to where it's going to tear off. Okay? So then you're going to adhere this the same way that you did to your front, and you're going to keep rolling on through the book until you're all done. So I am going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to pause you and I'll be right back. Pause. Did you miss me? I've been gone I don't know how long. I had dogs barking. Oh, goodness. Alright, so do you remember when I told you when we were doing the front, this is the back, I just got done doing it, to make sure that you cut it the way you want it if you have words in it so they run this way? I did say that, right? Okay. So this is the front. Where is the one I'm looking for? Right here. Can you see the words? But that's okay. Who gets this? If they decide they want to open it up like a book, the words will run this way. But that's what I was talking about when you're cutting your paper. Make sure that you cut the way that you want everything to go. And during all of this, I did not put my papers in the way that I wanted them initially. So if this is going to be my front, which I'll probably turn it around because these just look upside down to me. I wanted it to go that away. So, which means that would still be, that's okay. Yeah, so I think I'm going to flip it this way because I wanted this in the corner here. So I make mistakes. Now, after you get it together, you might notice, you see how it's pushed in? It's not completely flush. That happens when you open it up and you're gluing. Mine was like way down here when I got done. So what you can do is take the one that you just got done with, the very last one, you're going to have to pull it. You have to pull it up to the top right here. You might have to get Mom to help you with this one a little bit. And you hold it, and then you run your fingers down like that, just like so, and that will help you even it out. Now again, we're only human. It's not gonna be perfect, and that's something that I struggle with myself sometimes. Alright, so this is what we should have at this point, and my ruler right here just keeps sticking me. Got your handles. And we should have all of our papers. You want to make sure that your papers aren't off. If they are, just put a little bit of glue in there. If you're using wet glue, you can take a scrap like this, put a dab of wet glue on it, and then it will slide underneath your paper, and then just pull it out and then press it down. Works like a charm. Can't tell you how many times I've had to do it myself. So now we're going to embellish it. Now if you want to do pockets, we can do that. Or I didn't bring any in here with me. I don't have any flowers or whatnot close by. You can put flowers on here. Buttons, sticky gems. I didn't bring any of my embellishment boxes over. So I'll embellish the fronts later. And that's actually a good point that I wanted to bring up. Whatever you're going to do on the front, you want to do after you do the insides. Because if you have something bulky on here, when you open it up, my son's, I don't know what he's doing back here. I lost my train of thought. What was I saying? Oh, yes. Your cover. Embellish this last, because whenever you open it up, it won't be completely flat. And if you have buttons and everything, it'll be a bulkiness right here, which it may end up having the bulkiness on the insides too if you put something a little bit big. It just helps a little bit more for me personally if I do the cover last. Sometimes I forget and I do the cover first, and then it's all kind of cattywampus, and it just really, it messes me up a bit. See, and that looks cattywampus to me right here, see, because of right there. That's gonna bug the daylights out of me. Let's put it up at the top. Press it down. Come on, press down. I'll have to keep doing that till it gets its shape and its form. Alright, so what I want you to do a little bit is I want you to get all of your scraps that you have from cutting your paper making this book, okay? Grab those. I'm going to set this to the side and get a little bit of a drink. So we have all these beauties. There is so much potential sitting right here. So we're going to go with what we have in yours to start with. This tiny little book right here. See it? Made with scraps. We can make books. And you can actually put a cover on your book too, but this one doesn't have a cover on it. This right here would be a perfect piece to make a little book out of. Now there's two ways that we can do this, but both of them, with the way that I do it, involves just folding. See, just folding, just like that. And then this one we're going to fold one more time. Now we can glue this together to make a book, or we can cut and sew it to make a book. Like I said, there's two ways to do it, so I'm going to show you how to do both of them. We're going to start off with the glue one first. For the glue one, we're going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, just like an accordion. So we're going to go back and forth, because we've already got our outlined folds to follow. Makes it a lot more easy. Just like that. So this is what we're going to have. See this? Just like that. Now we're going to open it up and we're going to glue. Glue, 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 glue. And I don't want my stuff sticking. So I'm just going to run some glue. Like that. See? Can you see it? Alright. Now, this one right here, I'm not going to put that one up yet, because that one folds down here. So we're going to go glue like this, glue like this, push that one up, glue like that. And the reason why I didn't glue the front one down like that is because this is what's going to hold your book together, the two end flaps. I'm just going to press that down now. Just like that. Pull it out a little bit, like so. And then you have a book. Well, how cute is that? If you want to trim off your ends right here, you can.
It's really cute.
It's not going to be perfect because we have that fold in the middle, and the ones that we, right there, see, it's pulling it together. But that's okay, because we can hide that with a scrap, or just leave it. And then you can distress it. You can put a little button on it. Whatever you decide that you want to do. I'm just going to put this around real quick.
Like Bob Ross.
Okay. Yes, I like Bob Ross. So we're going to set this to the side.
You're like.
Okay, dokie. Remember I told you there was 2 ways that we could do it?
Yes, ma'am.
That was I'm talking. That was the glue and slap book, I should say. Fold, glue and slap book. This one here we're going to fold and fold. Quit picking on me. You hear my son in the background picking on me?
Picking on my...
Yes, and we're going to fold again. Now you could do the exact measurements where it's going to be nice and flush and it won't be jagged, but I'm not going to worry about any of that.
Okay.
Now we are going to cut on every other fold. Cut. Cut. And cut. And that one's a little bit off, but that's okay. We're going to put them all together. Crease it. Alright, my cuts are off a little bit on that. That will bug me, so I'm just going to snip it. Just like so. Okay. So you have all these loose papers. Now you could just take a stapler and put a little staple in there. I didn't think about that. I don't really like using staples. So I am going to use needle and thread.
So smart.
And we have to punch our holes in there too. I don't know what I've done with my bead reamer. So I am going to use, I don't know what I did. Uh-oh. Houston, we have a problem.
Mom, wait for them.
Don't know what I did with my thing. Oh, well, I'll have to wing it.
5 states away.
Alright. So I usually have like a piece of jean that I roll up for me to punch into. That way it doesn't go in. But I'm just going to hold it. Now if you're going to do this one right here, you might want to have Mom help you. It's going to be the same thing as what's called a pamphlet stitch. 3 holes. And when you're doing a bigger book, some people like to do 1 to 2 inches up from the bottom and the top, and then they divide it in half and put 1 in the middle. Mine is so not like that. I just punched with my little very expensive tool here. Okay, so for the pamphlet stitch, you have 1, 2, 3 holes. You have your needle and your thread ready. This is the inside of the book. You're going to go through the middle. You're going to pull through. You're going to come up through one of the holes in the front of the cover. Pull through.
And do remember, this is the back in the day style.
Now, you have 1 hole left. We're going to go through that. To tie it off, we're going to come back up through the middle. Now, you see how this is on this side of the thread right here? It's on this side. We're going to come up, we're going to come on this side so we can tie it off. If I can get it to go in. There we go. Okay, see how it's on the other side? I'm going to pull it through. Now we came from here and we wrapped around. Since we came from this side and we wrapped around, this right here is going to pull in this direction. This one we're going to pull in that direction. So you want to pull in the direction that the thread is flowing, if that makes any kind of sense. That way it does not rip your center hole here. Okay? And then we're just going to do a box knot. And this doesn't get as taut as it would if you were using like wax thread, because this is just embroidery floss is what this is. Okay, we're going to snip off. Now you can keep it longer if you wanted to add like a little dangle. You can cut it off right here and then tie a dangle on if you wanted to. Same thing with a bigger book or journal that you make. There's no right or wrong way for the length of your ties to be cut. And then you have a little tiny book. See, a little tiny book. Now you could put a cover on here. You could take some of your other scraps and cut or wrap. You could actually wrap it too to make a little book. And I think maybe we'll do that because this right here will match our cover. So we'll do that on one. I'm going to take it like this. Now this will not work on a bigger one. Well, it might work on a bigger one. I've never tried it out, but I would think that it would be a lot easier if you did not do it this way on a bigger one. And see, that's the reason why, because it's not completely flush. Might have some showing. So I'm just going to do it this way, and then I'm going to follow it up with my scissors. Like that. Put that back into your pile, your scrap pile, because you can use it. And then I'm going to do the same thing this way. You want to hold what? The other book?
Yes, it looks so cool. Is this how you do my pants?
Your what? Your pants?
Sewing.
No. That's something totally different. Alright, that's not quite on the fold, so we're going to go up just a little bit. Measure it. Measure again. And see, when you fold it, it's going to... See, it's all the way there, but when you open it up, it's not going to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue stick it.